So the Wolf of Wall Street made its second debut, this time on Robinhood, when a group of Redditors decided to take on the big hedge funds, beating them at their own game, something that at first glance seemed to be right up Robinhood's alley. Then in a shocking turn of events, Robinhood, known for backing the little guy, instead sided with the large hedge funds, blocking everyday investors from making money. And my big question is why? For that, I want to bring on James, aka the architect. James was in the Marine Corps for 5 years before being medically separated. He now works for a place making valves for the U.S. Navy. He follows current events and talks about them on the Skull Hunter podcast. James is also a fur dad of the cutest puppy in the world and the most precious kitty cat. James, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. And everything you said there was 100% accurate, so don't even have to look into that.
I have to ask you about this fur daddy thing. I need to get some pictures of your fur kids.
Absolutely. I'll send them to you after we're done recording here. I keep the door shut because if they start wandering in, then it's a mess for everyone. But yeah, so I treat them as my children. They are very well taken care of. Spoiled, some might say, but I am not some.
I wanted to thank you for your service, because I know that's not easy. I was in law enforcement. That's not even a fraction, I'm sure, of what you went through being in the military.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's I always get awkward when people say that because I understand they're showing gratitude, and I'm very grateful that people do that. But it's like, what do I say back? So I just stick with, thank you. I appreciate it, stuff like that. But when I first got out of boot camp, that was the biggest thing. Like, what do I say?
So what made you want to get into the Marines?
So my uncle was a Marine, and I didn't really see him a lot. He was stationed down in Texas, and I live in Ohio. But every now and then he'd come up and he'd visit me, and he got me my own little my own set of camis when I was a little kid, like that fit me perfectly and all that. He had my name put on them and everything. And I was like, all right, this is cool. I'm obviously going to do this. And then as I got close to the high school, I found out that you could actually enlist your junior year. Like before you turn 18, you can enlist before that. And so I enlisted so early that I actually set off to boot camp 2 days after I graduated from high school.
Wow.
Yeah, I literally had my graduation party the day of graduation. And then I had one night to, I didn't really pack anything. I had one night to just do me, and then I was off.
Robinhood. What the hell happened? This is crazy.
Yeah, so it's especially ironic because the name Robinhood. I'll go on record and I'll tell you, I'm a libertarian. I see both Republican and Democrat, and I hate both, and I like both about certain things. I pride myself on that because I hate big establishments. I think that's awful. And this is where we're getting into. Yep, thank you. This is where we're getting into now. So Robinhood, the CEO, his name is Vlad. He was on CNBC, CNN. When Vlad went on CNN and MSNBC, whichever one he went on first, he went on two shows. He went on one first.
There are, frankly, as you know, a lot of angry customers out there and a lot of questions about whether you have a liquidity problem.
And he basically said, no, this is not a liquidity issue.
No, there was no liquidity problem.
And then he turns around and he goes, yeah, this is a liquidity issue.
Spill the beans, man. What happened last week? Why'd you stop people? Why couldn't people buy GameStop shares?
We have to put up money to the NSCC. So they give us a file with the deposit, and the request was around $3 billion.
We didn't have the money to cover any of the funds or anything like that for as high as they were. So now people are speculating that's why. And that is also with these class action lawsuits. Yeah, these millions of people that signed this class action lawsuit, they could sue for damages because they were damaged. Market froze. They manipulated the market by freezing the stocks. But what are you going to get out of it if it was a liquidity issue? You know what I mean? So they would have been in more trouble, I think, if they didn't freeze it And then let's say all these people went to sell and there was no money.
If Robinhood's extending this margin, this trade equity to people, and they charge, I think it's like 5% or something, but they're extending all this credit essentially to these traders. And if they're extending credit that they don't have, like, I can't believe they set themselves up. Maybe that's how the market works behind the scenes. Maybe there's a lot of companies that can't cover liquidity.
I think that's the thing. We don't know what goes on behind closed doors, because when they're talking about all these Redditors, first off, they're not calling them day traders. They were like the news, the media, they refuse to call them day traders. They refer to them as, and here's an exact quote, the alt-right media online group known as Reddit. That is exactly what that was an exact quote I just read for you.
I didn't know they were alt-right.
that I didn't either, especially, I don't know if you've ever browsed Reddit, but you're one or two subreddits in, and it is not alt-right at all. But yeah, that's another thing. The media refuses to call them day traders. They want to, and then they say that they were hacking the stock market. Like, you just have a bunch of people. Yeah, and I can hear them mention what the big hedge funds are doing. All that's happened here, from my perspective, is that the little guy beat them at their own game. Yeah, and that's exactly it. So Melvin Capital was the fronting hedge fund for GameStop, and they ended up writing a report to the SEC. The SEC is an organization that oversees Wall Street, basically. They wrote a report. And any report that gets written to the SEC or gets published by the SEC, it can be found publicly. Well, the Reddit subreddit r/Wall Street Bets saw this report, and in this report it had a bunch of stocks and stuff like that were going to be shorted. I don't know exactly what the wording was, because I don't think they flat out said it was going to be shorting, but I think people put two and two together, and so that's what started this whole thing, because they saw the game that they were playing, so Reddit was going to play that game too. And the reason why it's an issue is because people are saying that Reddit was manipulating the market. There was collusion. Which, yeah, I mean, when you have a bunch of people on an online public forum saying, hey, all buy GameStop, don't sell, hold the line, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that could be collusion. Now, if you had one or two smart Redditors being like, hey boys, we really believe in GameStop, right? We really believe. We want to stick with it because we really believe, right? Yeah, like, you got to hide it a little bit, you know what I mean?
You are listening to the Brittany Richardson Experience.
I've noticed that. I was a late bloomer on this Reddit Wall Street Bets group, and I've been kind of watching it from a distance, and I see that, so what are you guys thinking? What companies look good? And you'll have them like in a roundabout way saying, I've been kind of eyeing this GameStop thing, had maybe the silver. Yes. You can tell what they're doing. But here's my question too, because I looked up like the 1934 Security Exchange Act.
Yep.
And it says it was created to govern securities/transactions on the secondary market after ensuring greater financial transparency, accuracy, and less fraud or manipulation. So it essentially made manipulating the market illegal. But the problem I had was when I was reading through it, it seemed to be only mention formal like companies, not individuals. So I'm wondering if what the Redditors did was truly illegal, or like where that lies.
See, here's where I stand on it. I don't think what they did was illegal, because if you take 8 Joe Schmoes that work for a hedge fund and they go behind a closed boardroom office and nobody can hear or see what's going on, you don't know what's being said. You don't know what's going on. And then you have Joe Schmo from that same boardroom go on MSNBC, CNN, NBC, whatever, and start either praising or suggesting to stay away from certain stocks. And people look at his financial advice when really he has 100% his own personal interest in it, or his group's personal interest in it. So what's the difference between quote unquote manipulation like that and then quote unquote a bunch of people on Reddit saying, hey, we want to stop them from shorting this stock. Let's put our money into it because it's their money. I mean, it's not like the hedge fund people who are just going to get bailed out by big government and they're using our taxpayers' monies. It's these people with their own money just threw it in there.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize like how extensive this game is that the hedge funds are playing. I mean, they were legit. I've seen the interviews on TV putting out rumors like, I'm telling you, the big one's coming. You want to get out, you want to get out of some of these stocks, and in a roundabout way, they were telling people all over network TV, get out of this, pull out, it's about to drop. So they set it up, in other words, by scaring everybody, the sky's falling type of thing. And then in the background, they're colluding to short the stock. Essentially, what that is, I think the easiest way to put it to somebody that's never looked into investing would be they're essentially betting that the stock's going to go down and they're going to make money if it does. And then they put out all these rumors, hey, don't go to this business or don't go, invest in this. It goes down ultimately because everybody's scared and they make money. They're playing a game here.
Oh, it is. And they never lose because they control everything. And that's the big thing. When they were going to lose this, yeah, Reddit would have scored 1 point for the good guys, right? But you know what would have happened? Because you know what those hedge funds do with half of their investments? They lobby the politicians. Both sides of that, it doesn't matter. They lobby the politicians, big companies. Like if I saw this funny thing that if politicians they should wear NASCAR jackets because then you'd see all the people that were buying them.
Yes, I am for that. Yes, every lobbyist, everybody who's paid them off, you need to have a sponsored logo. Like, can you imagine how many logos you would see in Congress?
It'd be bad, I think. And here's the other thing. Let's say one representative is like, yeah, let's stick with the people. Like, I'll do whatever I can to put a bill out to stop this from happening again. Like, they're on the people's side, right? Well, guess what? Those hedge funds just invested $60 million into that guy's opponent. And if I will, would you oblige with me and put on your tinfoil hat?
Yes, let's put on the tinfoil hat here.
All right. So our tinfoil hats are on. Melvin Capital wrote that report to the SEC, correct? And another big corporation that works on Wall Street is known as the Citadel. Citadel handles portfolios, management's a bunch of hedge funds. Like basically they're like Papa hedge fund, right? Like if it was a tree, Citadel's here and then hedge funds here. So Citadel, hedge funds. So what happened was Citadel was basically the one. Oh, sorry. And let me backtrack real quick. You know who also used to work for the Citadel? Vlad from Robinhood.
Really?
Yes. Oh, it gets better. You know how I told you that he probably got calls from the outside pressuring him to shut down GameStop stock? By the way, on my show, when we talked about this, I went ahead, like in the first 10 minutes of the show, was like, listen, I'm just going to call it GameStock from now on because I already know I'm going to mess up and say that. So from now on, if I say GameStock on accident, just know I'm talking about GameStop stock. All right.
I wish you had a dime for every time I've heard somebody stumble on it. I've done it so many times.
Yeah. So we got that. Now, so there's actually between Citadel, Melvin Capital, Wall Street, Robinhood. We settled those. You know what? You know who I think might have had the power to call a giant corporation to shut them down? I don't know. Maybe the government. Want to know why the government was involved? Press Secretary Jen Psaki, is that how you pronounce her name? Biden's press secretary?
I believe so, but I'm unsure on that.
I bet I'll give you two guesses, but I think you're only going to need one. Guess where her brother worked at before they deleted his LinkedIn account.
No way.
He was the portfolio manager of the Citadel.
So, okay. So how did all this come out? Is it like public information on the SEC?
So I don't know where it's all public. I saw a giant thread of it with sources. Mind you, I'm only as good as my sources. I tell you that every show. I'm only as good as my sources. But I saw a giant thread with sources that had basically connected all the dots here. Apparently started with Jen Psaki, her brother. They found his LinkedIn profile. It said all this stuff on there, like all where he used to work and all that. And then apparently a day or two after Robinhood froze everything, it was all deleted. Like his account was still up, but they deleted all his prior work history.
Wow.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm sure in the SEC you can see the reports where like that basically connects Melvin Capital to the Citadel to the SEC. Like there's.
And just coincidentally, Vlad is here supporting the very people that he was involved with and likely doing business behind the scenes with.
Exactly, because he's got to get paid some way. Because he knows he can either protect a bunch of Redditors that are eventually just going to cash out and blow their money on Cheetos and video games, or he could back the
big way. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, or he could back the suits who have their money in 18 different locations, including offshore accounts. So, I mean...
Didn't Elon Musk... Like, I could see Elon Musk totally being in with these guys, buying all the Cheetos. Like, hell yeah, guys.
He was.
Awesome video games.
I follow Elon Musk on Twitter. He bought a crap ton of GME, a ton of Gamestop. I do too. He bought AMC as well. And I think it was either BlackBerry or Nokia, one of the two. This entire story is just crazy. And unfortunately, so here, we'll put our tinfoil hats back on real quick. So I don't know if you've seen this at all, but the media is pushing right now that Redditors and they're calling them online traders. They have decided that they're going to pull their money from GameStop and invest in silver.
I heard that. I made an investment myself in one of the silver trusts, which turned out to be a mistake.
Yeah, can I tell you something funny?
Please.
So guess who was actually behind the whole. So I'm letting you right now. No Redditors put their money in silver, and if they did, it was completely coincidental. This is a tactic called short laddering. So what's going to happen is all these people keep their game, like they hold on to their game stock, right? Well, all these hedge fund people are now dumping all their money into precious metals. Precious metals, there's some term, I don't understand it, but the money for precious metals goes back to them no matter what. It's some convoluted way. I didn't look into it because I don't care. So the money, and you can't short precious metals. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So they put all their money in there. And then you've noticed silver went up. And now with all this media attention, they're like, oh, Redditors are putting all their money in silver. Redditors are not putting their money in silver. But what that does do is that scares the people who did have their money in GameStop, who weren't aware of the plan to hold no matter what, to quickly sell. Yeah, to either sell, or hedge fund people put their money back in GameStop just to sell it right away, because when you have mass amounts of selling, it shows a downward trend for the stock.
You are listening to the Brittany Richardson Experience.